Keys to the City podcast.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Keys to the City. I'm your host, Trevor Keys, alongside the big brother, Ted Keys. You can check out for live shows, Keys to the City at YouTube, Facebook, and as well as Twitch. And if you don't get to check out the live show, you could check us out streaming at Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Google, and Amazon at Keys to the City. Or if you want to follow, like, or subscribe, you can check us out at Keys to the City on other social media platforms. Ted's trying to tell me about a 2 for $5. He's trying to tell me about McDonald's for life. This kid's out of his mind. Ted's getting hungry. Right, Ted? Ted's like, yeah, I don't need to get McDonald's. I'll just get a grilled chicken sandwich. Right, Ted?
No, I'm just sharing the show.
No, I know that. I'm breaking stones. Go with it. Just go with it.
Yeah, go with yourself.
This man is on fire. Well, we are talking New York football. Two big looming decisions heading in the Big Apple for the New York Giants and the New York Jets. And then we're going to close out with, well, we've heard the term pretty legit. Is he Purdy legit, or is it too good to be true? Yes, I'm talking about Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers as they dismantled those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But, Ted, we're talking about the 2 for $5, McDonald's, and deals like that. Well, the Giants are going to have to face a situation, speaking of deals, Daniel Jones, and Saquon Barkley. Two we thought were going to be two building blocks when Dave Gettleman drafted both of these guys. It's been a rough spot, rough situation, a rough transition for both guys, dealing with injuries, turnovers for Daniel Jones, getting a new head coach, multiple head coaches, I should say, and just a new regime. Well, you look at it right now, the New York Giants started off so great this year, so shocking to the NFL world, but now they are coming back to life. Well, let's just say they are back to life. And right now, they are 1-4-1 in their last 6 games, currently 7-5-1, but still in that wild card spot, the 7th and final wild card spot. So, Ted, when you look at these two, this year, how it started for Saquon, off to a tremendous start, but he's kind of slowed it down. It looks like he's dealing with injuries, hasn't looked his full Saquon self again like he was early on in this year. And then Daniel Jones. He's been the biggest question for Giant fans since the day he got drafted. Was he going to be the heir apparent to Eli Manning? Was he going to be the future of the New York Giants? Well, we're only less than a month away, and the New York Giants' playoff time is right around the corner, but also decisions for the New York football Giants. Ted, when you look at these two right now, in the current predicament that the New York Giants are in, will DJ, Daniel Jones, and Saquon Barkley be a part of Big Blue's future to you, honestly? And if so, how do they figure this situation out? Do they franchise one of them? That's the thing. The Giants are in such a tough, sticky situation.
They're in a tough predicament. They're in a really tough predicament. I told you before, if I had to, I'd rather franchise tag Saquon because it's at about $12 million right now, 12.1 or give or take. So it's a lot less of a salary cap hit than it would be if you're franchising Daniel Jones, which right now is currently, I believe, $31.3 million. So that would be what Daniel Jones, if he got franchise tag next year. If it's a transitional tag, I believe they said it was like 28.1. Either way, you'd be overpaying for a quarterback for 1 year. But hey, listen, this is the NFL. We've seen other guys get paid that don't deserve as much as what they're getting paid. But hey, listen, it's the way that's the way the ball drops. Giants are in a tough position. I don't really know what the Giants do because as a true Giant fan, we all love Saquon, right? He's a great guy, great humanitarian. I mean, we don't want to see a player of his caliber be released or let go, and someone else enjoy his wonderful traits as a football player. I mean, you kind of see what happened with Christian McCaffrey and at Carolina, now in San Fran. You see what Kyle Shanahan's done with him. But you also look at this, and this is the truth. This is the hard truth. Running backs are a dime a dozen, bro. You see it all the time. I mean, you think the Cowboys are happy with that Zeke deal? I mean, look at the Jets. At the time
they probably were, but now they're
well. I mean, look at the Jets right now. The guy McKnight, since he's been in for them, has been tremendous for them, and he's literally off the street. So in a league where, listen, it's great to have a stellar back and a guy who can do many things. And listen, the Titans would never want to give up Derrick Henry. Chris McCaffrey's unbelievable. But you look at guys like Dalvin Cook, he's starting to look old. Like, and he's only 27. Like, what is Saquon going to look in 2 or 3 years? He's already dealing with some injuries. What do you do as a true New York fan? Because at the end of the day, this is a business. The Giants are in a sticky situation. Here's the honest truth from my perspective. You franchise Saquon for 1 year. You see how the future goes next year. Maybe you trade him if the season falls apart. DJ, as much as I don't want him to be the future, he's deserving of at least bringing back for another year. Because what he has dealt with this year is like nothing I've ever seen. I mean, as bad as the Patriots offense and the personnel, Daniel Jones' personnel is so much worse. So much worse. Other than Andrew Thomas, the offensive line has been awful. I mean, go look at the stats. I mean, the guards, and the 2 guards in the center can't block anyone. Neal has not really progressed yet, but he's still a rookie. So listen, we were down.
I'm not worried about it.
Andrew Thomas too, right? Remember,
I'm not worried. Yeah, I'm not worried.
He's got awful 3 years later. He's one of the best left tackles in the game. So let's give Evan Neal 2 or 3 years, and it takes offensive lineman time. You don't just come in like Quentin Nelson and Joe Thomas and just become a star. So that's the realistic ball game. Daniel Jones is deserving of a 1-year contract, though. Minimum 1 year, maybe 2 years. Fine. This is the way I would look at it. 2-year deal with a team or a player option for the second year, somewhere around 2 years, $40-something million, 44, 45, maybe 48, somewhere in that $20-25 million range. He's deservingly so. This is a team that, like we were talking about before, Trev, thought we're going to have Kenny Galladay, thought we're going to have Sterling Shepard, thought we're going to have Kadarius Toney, thought we're going to have Wan'Dale Robinson, thought we'll have Darius Slade, thought we'll have some other pieces that we're not thinking of that didn't even make the roster or got hurt or got caught or whatnot, right? We thought we'd have some really nice pieces for Daniel Jones. He's got none of them. Everyone I just named.
So that's why. So that's the question. So do you blame?
One thing. I just read off a stat to you. The Giants do not have an NFL receiver in the top 70 in the entire football league within catches. So there's 70 receivers in the league that have more catches than any player on the New York Giants. That just speaks volume to what the personnel and the caliber talent that Daniel Jones is playing with.
Does he get punished for it?
No, you can't punish him. I think he's deservingly so. Here's the other real perspective that we are going to need to start talking about is where's the Giants draft pick at? How do the Giants finish out the season?
It looks like it's going to be in the 20s.
Not if they lose out. They lose this week against Washington, they're not making the playoffs. So let's start with that. And we'll talk about that more on Friday, but they're not making the playoffs, they lose to Washington. Then what if they lose to Minnesota, right? Then the Colts, okay, it might not even make a difference. And then you have, Philly right after that? So and maybe Philly doesn't play their starters week 18, and maybe we sneak a win in. But if we lose out, we could be in the teens. Now, does that get you a spot, maybe the 4th or 5th best quarterback? Who knows? What do the Giants do? I think the Giants really don't think Daniel Jones is the future, but he's deservingly so of a return to the New York Giants. And if anything, he's deservingly so to fight for competition next year. Like, hey, we might draft a guy in the second round. That's okay. You're going to fight for your position. If you're good enough, you'll win the position next year. We'll let the rookie kid sit behind you, and we'll move forward and see what happens. If not, you become a viable backup. And listen, look at Jimmy G. I mean, he up until the injury, good to have a viable backup.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Daniel Jones is that I know people might knock him and critique him, and deservingly so before coming into the season. But this year, I mean, look at what he's been up against. I mean, this is a team that's literally depleted, having practice squad players playing on the Sunday roster. Like, they're playing in the games as practice squad players, receivers. I mean, Isaiah Hodgins has been a nice little boost to this offense, who's playing pretty darn well so far since he's got his opportunity. But you just look at the weapons, Ted. Like you said, Darius Slayton's their number one guy right now. Wan'Dale's out. Kadarius Toney's not even in the team anymore. Kenny Galladay is nowhere to be found. It's so disappointing because of how this season started. And I'm not going to knock Daniel Jones. And I've been a guy that has knocked Daniel Jones for years now. I get that. I have not been the biggest supporter. But he doesn't deserve to get the criticism that maybe deserves.
Listen,
so he has in the past.
I don't know many quarterbacks that would have a good season under the circumstances that the Giants are facing. I mean, hey, if you want to just go across the other side of the stadium and go to the Jets locker room, what do you think Daniel Jones and the Giants offense would look like if they had some of the personnel that the Jets have? Hell with Saquon. Great. Keep Saquon. We'll take your receivers. I'll trade Saquon for your receivers. Give me Elijah Moore. Give me Denzel Mims. Give me Corey Davis. Give me Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, man. That kid's he's gonna be a stud.
Give me some of those pieces. All right. I want those guys to throw to. Because that opens up everything else for the running game. We talked about this. If you can't throw the ball and stretch the field, defenses come in. It's like playing goal line offense. Everyone's within the 10 yards because there's no fearfulness of a deep threat.
Yeah.
And that was what we used to talk about when Kansas City was what Tyreek Hill did for the Kansas City Chiefs. Back the safeties up. So now you're running against 6 people in the box. It's a lot easier to run. Saquon's got 8 in the box at all times. There's nothing on the Giants that goes, I'm scared of that guy.
Well, that's the thing.
Every other time.
What makes it even more difficult is that they haven't been able to run the football. So they've been really behind the 8 ball because of the fact that they were so reliant on that rushing attack early on in the season and was setting up everything. Now that they can't run the football, I mean, they're just so as already they are been limited offensively to not have that backbone and to not have that rushing attack that was working so effectively for them. I mean, Daniel Jones definitely doesn't deserve to get any.
Here's my thing: if he was playing bad and we had personnel on,
he's not. I mean, he's one of the only weapons on that offense.
Well, I mean, he's going to probably finish with about 700 yards rushing. He's going to have over 3,000 yards passing. Again, this week he did not have a turnover against that relentless Eagles pressure, and he had no chance.
And you know how many times he got sacked?
6.
He got sacked 7 times. Who's winning a football game like that? Unless I guess, Joe Burrow did it last year in the playoffs. Most of the time, you're not winning those games.
Yeah, but who did Joe Burrow throw the ball to?
I get it. Yes.
No, and I'm not knocking you what your statement is. If someone was like, well, Joe Burrow, no kidding, bro. He's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Mixon and Boyd and a lot more personnel. Giants don't have half of some of these teams. I mean, you look at some of the teams in this league, you got to have someone to throw the ball to. Yeah. There's no excuses. Perfect example I can make, if you watch the Sunday Night Football game this week, look at the difference that the Chargers looked like offensively with Justin Herbert having his 2 receivers on the field for the entire game. They had only been on the field, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, for 46 snaps all season long. They looked like a different team offensively with those 2 guys on the outside. And this is a league where we were just talking about things, and you said it before. This is a league where, wide receivers drive the league. Justin Jefferson, best receiver in the league, possibly.
Wait, what was that?
No, I'm saying possibly the best receiver in the league.
No.
He won the Bills game for them. He won the Bills game, not Kirk Cousins.
He is the best receiver in football.
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, I'd put him at 2 or 3.
We eventually. Okay. You got
I still don't think Devontae Adams' crown has been taken away.
We need to definitely have just an episode. We need to have an episode just debating.
I'm still a Jamar Chase guy.
I love Jamar Chase. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm taking.
I'll take him over Justin Jefferson.
Can you imagine if Justin Jefferson had Joe Burrow? I mean, the man just had 11 receptions for 230 yards.
Yeah, but that was against the Detroit Lions.
He still got 230 yards.
Devontae Adams should have had about 200 yards last week. Derek Carr didn't want to throw him the ball in the second half.
Our point is about this whole thing. All these teams got great weapons and number 1 receivers, and in a league that it's a passing-driven league, and receivers lead are the ones that you look for, like it is in fantasy football now. It seems like the Giants don't have any of that. And to see that Daniel Jones and Saquon, the Giants are going to be faced with tough decisions and harsh decisions moving forward into this offseason, because it is a make or break type of offseason in the sense that this is a new regime. Joe Shane, now you got Cap. Now it's all on you. You're trying to clean the Dave Gettleman mess, but now it's time to figure it out. And Daniel Jones and Saquon are at the forefront of that decision making. Speaking of long-term answers, the New York Jets, all coming into this year. Oh, Zach Wilson. It looks like he's going to maybe take the next stride into something that the Jets have been hoping for since 1969 and Joe Namath. Well, looks like that narrative is gone right out the window, as maybe the New York Jets could have the long-term solution. But, Ted, is it Mike frickin' White right now that could be leading Gang Green into the future?
Should be.
Really?
They're a different.
Are you set in stone? Are you set in stone on him?
I mean, I at least want to. I don't think unless something happens injury wise. Now I'm just reading. He's ready to go against. The Lions
that's amazing. That's incredible. The heart that he has, the toughness, and just to come back like that.
Like I think, if you watch,
I love it. I love
Monday Night Football last night. Even they had the conference last night. Robert Griffin said the trust that the team and the coaching staff has with Mike White. Zach Wilson didn't throw the ball 57 times. Zach Wilson didn't throw the ball 57 times in 2 games. Mike White threw the ball 57 times against the Bills, against the Vikings. I mean, that means they have trust in Mike White. They have faith in him. The team is like resurrected with him. There's a belief. Those guys. And here's the other thing. As Robert Saleh, we'll see those guys again. That's kind of like Jim Fossil. This team's going to the playoffs. I mean,
they're talented enough.
If you're playing the Bills again, that means you're seeing them in the playoffs. That means Mike White is leading you. This is a huge game this week, Jets versus Lions. Both teams have been on.
Who would have thought the Jets and Lions in Week 15 is
that's
a
great,
huge
though.
game? I love it. I'm not upset. I told you, by the way, we both did say, everybody was like, yeah, Detroit's not winning. Detroit won.
Why people jumped on our picks?
Oh yeah, people were like, "Yeah, your picks stink."
So the only
we did pretty well. We did 3. What did we go 3-1?
No,
did we both pick the Dolphins?
Yeah, we both picked the Dolphins. I should have known. Once everyone talking crap about Justin Herbert, I should have known.
Son of a gun!
But we were right on it. We knew San Francisco was going to dominate. We knew Detroit was going to dominate. We both had the Bills over the Jets, and that's not a knock on Mike White.
No.
He
came back multiple times to play this game. Like that, the toughness that this man has showed, that gets the locker room all in on you. Like, you come back and you show that toughness, you show that resiliency, you think your locker room is going to shy away from you? No. They're going to rally around you, and that brotherhood and that bond just got that much stronger. And Mike White, you have a franchise that is all in on you right now. This is, like you just said, the Detroit Lions are coming into town, and they are playing well, and they're playing great football too. This matchup is a huge, huge matchup for Mike White, Jared Goff, and both franchises, because both of these teams are fighting for their playoff lives. So they have both a great opportunity to be playing in this year's playoffs. And it's a fascinating, fascinating situation just here for 3 franchises that have been so poorly run and have executed so poorly in the past 10 years. The Jets and the Lions, they've been just bad for a long time. To just see the Giants and the Jets and the Lions playing for meaningful football in December, that's just a reflection on the coaching staff. That's just a reflection on the team buying into the concept. And the Jets right now, they're buying into Mike White. I think Zach Wilson, you'll never see Zach Wilson unless Mike White gets hurt, because Joe Flacco's all done with. The end of Flacco has been that was as obvious as it came on Sunday against the Bills. I don't know if we're ever going to see Zach Wilson in a New York Jet uniform, Ted. I don't see it, because this chemistry, this team, I think they're just like, oh, we've moved on. The coaching staff was also seemed like they've moved on. They're all in on Mike White. They are like Ted likes to use. They are throwing all the chips on, all in on Mike White, Ted.
Oh yeah, his guts is savvy for him to come back in the beating that he took against the Bills. And here's the thing: it wasn't his fault. It was Joe Flacco's. What was it? Joe Flacco's pick. No, fumble by Joe Flacco.
And they still had an opportunity to win on Sunday.
And a couple key penalties. They had their opportunities.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to say. They still had their opportunities to win. If Mike White plays maybe the whole game.
Flacco fumbled. They had C.J. Mosley jumped off sides on 4th down, which led the Bills to a leading touchdown. So they held Josh Allen again under 150 yards passing. So yeah, they're the defense that matches up really well against the Bills because they have the secondary. And of course, Quentin Williams also got hurt in that game, so that was probably another key loss for them. But the Jets have, if you're a Jets fan, the up and up is like, you got to be happy of where this team is at and where it's going.
Hell yeah.
Of course, I don't know if Mike White's the future, but he's the future for right now and for this season. Worry about next season when it comes. But let's see what happens. If he leads them to the playoffs.
You got a locker room behind you. You got the chemistry with the players. The coaching staff seems like they believe in you. That seems like you got the thumbs up for.
But here's where you got to be realistic too. We're all in the love with the Mike White edition. this is what you have to really be true as a fan. Is Mike White and the Jets good enough to consistently have to beat Josh Allen?
When
and the Bills,
healthy,
Joe Burrow and the Bengals, the
when
Kansas City
healthy,
Chiefs and Mahomes,
Mhm.
and maybe eventually Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Because right
When
now,
they are
here's
healthy,
the other thing: the Lamar and the Ravens. So right now, I talk about 5 quarterbacks right now in the AFC. Those 5 quarterbacks we consider top 5 quarterbacks in the top 10.
what about the Dolphins too?
Tua. Yeah, I guess you got to put Tua there too.
I
So
this year
is
you
Mike
got to.
White, because if Mike White is not better than those quarterbacks, then everything else has to be great.
I don't
One
think he
game has
has
to be good enough.
I don't think he has to be
Yeah,
like
but to be
that though.
consistent, isn't the goal to win a Super Bowl?
Of course. But when you have the talent that the New York Jets have, we're not talking like New York Giants talent. We're talking about a defense that's one of the top 4 or maybe top 5 defenses, maybe even higher up into some people. One of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. You have the weapons. When they're healthy too, I mean, they don't even have one of their best players, Brees Hall. They're one of the probably maybe the best player on the team in Elijah Vera Tucker. He hasn't even been playing. So imagine if you get those two like all Pro Bowl caliber players back at full health. Mike White doesn't have to be a guy. We talk about him all the time, Ted. Jimmy G. You don't have to be a guy.
Yeah, but
Look,
you know, can I tell you?
I get it. It's so different. Look, there's not, but here's the thing. There is
if
not.
you don't want,
Hold
if you
on.
want Jimmy G,
There's not many
at
guys.
the end of the day, in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, he couldn't make the play, and Mahomes won the Super Bowl.
But there's not many quarterbacks. There's not many quarterbacks in today's NFL right now that are Patrick Mahomes.
No,
that are Joe.
You're missing the point. You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes.
That's what I'm trying to say.
You got to be good enough though in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl.
I don't think he is that bad enough.
Jimmy G wasn't good enough. He had the better team, the better coach, and he was not the better quarterback. And at the end of the day, that's why they lost the Super Bowl. No other reason. Maybe also
when you have all the right pieces, when you have the weapons, when you have the dominant defense, when you have a coaching staff that buys into you, a solid offensive line, those are recipes for success. That you could go a long way.
The Super Bowl, though.
I mean,
that's what, this is what it comes down to.
This year, no. Next year, I don't know. Next year, maybe.
But is Mike White going to be able to make the plays when it matters most? Is he good enough to beat a Joe Burrow? Is he good enough to beat a Mahomes? Is he good enough to beat Lamar? Is he good enough to beat Tua? Is he good enough to beat Josh Allen?
I think the team. I think the team is good enough.
It is against him because at the end of the day, everything could go wrong for the Bills. Josh Allen could still win them a game. Everything can go wrong for the Chiefs. Mahomes can win them a game. He can throw 3 picks, and then next thing you know, he makes miraculous plays, flips the ball like this, touchdown McKinnon, 67 yards, and that's the difference because those guys can do that.
I think the team is good enough that can do it.
Well, we'll find out.
When healthy, I think the team is good enough to compete for a championship. Maybe not this year. Maybe in a year they will. But right now, if you're a New York Jet fan, you have to be excited.
Ride with White, huh? Ride with White, the White experience.
You're you're cracking me up over there. Cracking me up.
I get it. I get what you're saying. The future can be bright. My only question is true
because they have the pieces now in place. You have a shutdown corner. You have a dominant defensive line. You get Elijah Vera Tucker back. You're going to have a nice little running back by committee with Michael Carter, with Brees Hall, and with the newcomer Knight. I mean, that's great to have. Garrett Wilson looks like he's an emerging star.
But if you're the Jets with the salary cap that you have in the situation that's currently going on in San Francisco with the chance that Purdy leads in the playoffs, do you then go after Jimmy G then? That's what I'm asking. Then do you go after Jimmy G?
All
because
question.
Now Purdy looks like, we don't know, but it's been half a week. He played 1 full game against Tampa Bay, who's really not as good as everyone. Well, I don't think anyone thinks they're good.
All I'm saying is that's a question for down the stretch. See how the Jets finish out. It's a good situation to be put in.
What is the Jets' remaining schedule?
They still got to play Miami. They still got to play the Patriots again. Oh, no, they already played the Patriots twice.
New York Jets schedule.
So
they got the Lions this week, which is a playoff game.
Yes.
Right? Then they come back a short week next week, Thursday, against the Jaguars. Now, that's an interesting game because the Jaguars –
they're playing for some playoff possibilities now.
Then January 1st against Seattle, which that's a huge playoff game.
Is that in Seattle?
The last week of the season. Huh?
Is that in Seattle?
Yeah. So they're home against the Lions this week. They're
Yep.
home Thursday at the Jags. They're at Seattle and then at the Dolphins.
Yeah.
All 4 teams are vying for a playoff teams with the Jets. So, and here's the other thing: the Patriots won last night. The Chargers won the other night. They're fighting for that last playoff spot with those 2 other teams.
Both New York teams are fighting for that final wild card spot. It's a fun time to be in New York right now as a football fan. It's getting a little tense for Giant fans, Jet fans, because we're right on the edge. But you put yourselves in a situation to make a playoff appearance. Speaking of backup quarterbacks, well, we should just get rid of the name Mr. Irrelevant because, well, he's pretty relevant right now. And he's pretty, or no, I'm not going to say pretty. He's pretty good. And that is Brock Purdy. I mean, Ted, you look at what he's done. And I know everybody's saying, oh, he only played 1 full game. Well, he pretty much played 2 full games because Jimmy G got hurt on the first drive against the Miami Dolphins. So he pretty much played 2 full games. But he's played his part. And he's looked pretty freaking good. So, Ted, is Brock Purdy, or should I say, is he Purdy legit? Or is it too good to be true right now? Because you look how this, like we just said with Mike White, look how this team is rallying behind Brock Purdy. The energy, the chances that he's taking, the throws that he's making. And this is what is fascinating to me. Everybody's like so stunned and so shocked. I get it. He's Mr. Irrelevant. He was picked 261. So why would he ever get an opportunity? Well, when you get the opportunity, you deliver. And he's delivered so far. My big thing is also, he was a 4-year starter at Iowa State. Big 12 conference. Was a very good quarterback for the Iowa State Cyclones. And he had a really good coach. For people that maybe don't watch a lot of college football, there's this guy named Matt Campbell, where a lot of people are huge believers in him. Thought he was going to possibly be, maybe eventually gets down the road, becomes an NFL head coach. So when everybody wants to say, oh, this guy is, well, he came out of nowhere. Well, he's played good college football. He played in one of the best conferences in college football, one of the most well-respected conferences in college football, had a great coach, led him to bowl games, gave him opportunities to win Big 12 championships. And now he goes to a situation where we just talked about it with Mike White. You got the defense, the best defense in the NFL. I think that's really been, I mean, I don't know if you can really disagree with that statement anymore that the 49ers are the best defense in football. They just do everything right on that side of the ball. They got the weapons. I know a big loss, Debo out, going to return probably at the end of the regular season, playoff time, but he's out, big loss, but they still have the options. That's the thing. This team is just loaded with options. And with the way he's been playing, how can you not say right now? I get it. What is he going to do in the postseason? If he just plays the way he's been playing, where Shanahan has given him, 16 to 21, 185, 2 touchdowns, 76 completion percentage. Last week, 67% completion percentage, 210. You're playing against, and that's the thing, guys, is that you're playing against teams. The past 2 weeks he's played, he's not playing the Houston Texans. He's not playing the Chicago Bears. No offense
With
to
the Miami
Bears
Dolphins and the
you're
Tampa
playing
Bay
the Miami Dolphins, who to some before coming into last week, that could be the team that could be representing the AFC. He shut them up real quick. And then you're playing against the greatest quarterback of all time, the San Francisco hometown boy, Tom Brady, and you literally just go wipe them off the face of the earth and say, get the hell away from me. And in a defense that Tampa Bay, we all say, is a pretty good, legit defense, Brock Purdy had his way. And this team is rallying behind him, and they're all about Purdy. So, Ted, I give you my little spiel. Is he legit? Is Purdy legit? Or is it too good to be true?
Honestly, Trev, here's the thing. We're big college.
I know you were impressed on Sunday because you were texting me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, bro. I said Charles the other day, and I think I said to you, he's a better version of Jimmy G. He's more athletic than Jimmy G, so he brings that running ability to the offense that Jimmy G did not bring. His arm doesn't, stand out like some of the impressive guys in the league, but he's efficient. He makes all the throws. What was his numbers this week? What did I just had? I had it right in front of me. 16 to 21, super efficient. 185 yards, 2 passes scored, and he had a rushing touchdown. It looks like he has complete control of the offense. Now people are like, it was easy. Listen, I told Charles this. If the coach did not have faith in Brock Purdy, you don't start the game out throwing 8 of the first 10 plays. Eight of the first 10 plays were pass plays, which means you have confidence in your you have confidence in your quarterback. It wasn't just hand the ball to Christian McCaffrey, short dumps and runs.
Yeah,
and
it's
screens
not
and
dinking
whatnot.
dunks. It's literally taking shots down the field to McCaffrey, taking
Now-
shots to Ayuk. Like that.
And he looks like he belongs. Now, we don't give these guys credit because, like, oh, he's Mr. Irrelevant. It was 252, and there's 251 guys better. But that happens, all right? There's other guys that have fallen. Brady was a 6th-round pick. There's other guys that have been 4th, 5th. Not everyone's going to be a star in the first round. Now, does that mean he's got a future in the NFL? I don't know. But, I mean, hell, Mike White is playing. Mike White is playing good for the Jets, and we just had a conversation about Mike White. I don't know what round Mike White was drafted, but I guarantee it wasn't in the top 3. So he's probably a late 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, maybe an undrafted player.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If Purdy plays great and he wins a Super Bowl,
Buy Jimmy G.
what do the 49ers do? Buy Trey Lance?
Well, Trey Lance, you don't know he's going to be guaranteed ready to go week 1.
But just think about that scenario. If he plays the way he plays, efficient,
you
he
already
plays
having this
decisive.
conversation about Jimmy G, Trev. I said,
I get
what if Jimmy G wins the Super Bowl? He's deserving.
Okay,
of
so
a
guess what?
Of a new
Jimmy
contract.
G, I don't know if Jimmy G, he might come back at some point this season, maybe in the playoffs. But if Purdy plays well and he's playing like this efficiently, he's not indecisive, he's making the throws,
Is
he's
this the
delivering
Drew Bledsoe Tom Brady thing?
smart decisions. Are we even saying hello to Jimmy G? Are we saying goodbye to Jimmy G? And Jimmy G just plays as the backup role where, like you said, Ted, it's good to have the viable option as a backup because he's been there before. If Purdy does get hurt, then you got Jimmy G, who was
or if he screws up too. I mean, is this
so
the Tom
this
Brady?
question maybe gets even more spicier, I guess, as the weeks progress because of the fact that if Purdy plays well, what does that do with Jimmy G's future? And what does that do with the guy that you traded multiple first-round picks
Well,
for? You jumped all the way to the top 3 to draft a kid that you thought was going to be the answer, and he's been anything but he's been anything but that.
Okay, but let's start with the first question. Let's start with the regular season. Let's finish out the season. Supposedly Jimmy G can come back. That was the narrative. Yes. It probably won't be to playoff time, which sounds like Deebo Samuel. That's what I would do. I'd hold him back till the playoffs too. I don't care about the regular rest of the season. You're going to make the playoffs. I need Deebo for the playoffs because if he's not there, I don't think they have a Super Bowl.
You got the weapons. You don't have to. You got the weapons.
He's got to be back, though, for them to make the Super Bowl. Deebo.
Correct.
That's okay. Now, I was joking, and this is when I say this, I don't mean this as what he can be. But if you remember, Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Tom Brady took over the reins. Was efficient. Got the Patriots to the playoffs. Got the team to the AFC title game. I believe he got hurt in the AFC title game. Drew Bledsoe came in and took over the job. What I'm saying to that kind of same kind of story is Brock Purdy takes care of the rest of the regular season. He leads them to the playoffs. Say maybe he wins out. What if he wins out? Well, let's just go with the wins out narrative, right? He wins out.
They don't lose again.
They go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
First round of the playoffs, they're in. All right, they win the first round. Brock Purdy's quarterback because Jimmy G's not ready. Jimmy G's ready in the division. Do you bring in Jimmy G? I don't because he's been cold. He's been sitting on the bench for 6 weeks. Jimmy G, sit on the bench, keep warm. If we need you, we'll bring you in relief. You know what I mean? We'll bring in the relief. If not, Brock Purdy's our guy. And I run the Brock Purdy show until the end of the playoffs. Even if they get to the Super Bowl, it's Brock Purdy's team. If he wins out, I don't think you could I think you throw the rhythm off if you do that. You start when you start changing quarterback. I get it, Jimmy. I get it. Jimmy G's probably earned the right, but this ain't Tom Brady either. This is not Joe Burrow coming back from Jimmy G's great, but Jimmy G's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And right now, Brock Purdy's playing great, and I think he gives them a better chance right now to win. I told you, Jimmy G was good enough to get this team to the playoffs. I didn't know what Brock Purdy was. I know it's only been a game in like 3 quarters. Let's see how the rest of the regular season plays out. But if he continues to play this efficiently, they continue to win. I think you got to ride the Purdy show. Okay, but you can always bring Jimmy G off the bench if you need to. Goff, I mean, listen, they win 2 out of the next 4 games. He goes 2-2 the rest of the week. Jimmy G's ready a wild card. I'd probably start Jimmy G. All right, I'd probably start Jimmy G. Or have a short leash on Purdy and see how he does in the, you know what I mean? And say, Jimmy G, once he gets, if he starts struggling, we're not efficiently running our offense, you're going to come in off the bench. But now let's take the next narrative.
So they got at Seattle. Washington home, and then they're at LA for the Raiders, and then close out with the Cardinals. So I don't. Maybe I see them losing one of those games because I just think that defense.
Maybe the Seattle game in Seattle.
Maybe it's a Thursday night game this week. That's a Thursday night game. But that defense is so freaking
That's a huge
nasty.
game. Okay. And
That
they can
defense
stop
is
the
so
pass.
nasty, man.
Then who was the following week? The
Then the
Washington
Commanders, they're
Commanders.
home against the Commanders. Then they go to Vegas to take on the Raiders, and then they close out with the
I look
Cardinals,
at Purdy
which
as like
still
a
win
better.
that game.
Yeah, I would give Purdy as a better version of Taylor Heineke and Jimmy G. Can play. I think he's a. Do I know if he's a starter for the future? I don't know, but he's good enough right now.
I mean, if he wins out,
Here's my
which
thing.
it looks like he
wins the
could.
Super Bowl, if he wins the Super Bowl, first of all, Jimmy G's already made money, so Jimmy G is going to get paid in the offseason because someone's going to go get him. If it's the New York Jets, it's the Carolina Panthers. If it's the Indianapolis Colts, someone's going to go pay New York Giants. Someone's going to go bring in Jimmy G.
Then the question comes in: what do they do with Trey Lance?
I think you make it a.
Who do you get more value? Who would you get more value for? Would you get Trey Lance or Jimmy G? Because there's no way you can take Purdy from winning a Super Bowl and saying, okay, unless they decide to shock everybody and trade him, which I would just think it's
no. You would trade him. You keep
my
him
point
as
my point. That's even more appalling. Is that why would you back him up when he just they just
because you just gave up 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance.
Okay. And what has he done to say that he deserves to be the starting quarterback? I know he just got injured. I get it, but still, even when he's played in that little short period of time, he hasn't looked good though.
Trev, then I guess it's a good problem to have then, because here's the thing: either way, you're going to have 3 viable quarterbacks. You already have Trey Lance on the roster. All right, you can either trade Jimmy G and get value for him. All right, you could keep him on the roster. And because maybe Trey Lance isn't ready for week 1 next year. So you bring back Jimmy G and ride him again. And you bring back Purdy too.
That's all I'm trying to say is that he wins. Hypothetically, he wins out. He wins the Super Bowl. There's no way you're going to put him on the bench or you're trading him.
I'll tell you, Purdy
he just won the Super Bowl.
I'll tell you, Purdy would not be the starter week 1 next year if one of those 2 guys are gone.
Wow.
Doesn't matter if he won the Super Bowl. They're not gonna.
Did you really just said it doesn't matter if they don't win the Super Bowl?
Because I don't think.
Okay.
Here's the other thing. Because it's a business, and I think San Francisco.
The ultimate goal.
Hold on. They have to know what Trey Lance is. You're probably right. I'm just giving you the devil's advocate. Is they got to know what Trey Lance is, bro. They gave up 3 first-round picks. You don't want to hear it. I get it. It's not the right thing.
But Ted, what's the ultimate goal in this business?
Yeah, but if they win the Super Bowl this year, next season's a whole new season. You got to find out what Trey Lance is, bro. You have to put Purdy as your backup. If Trey Lance gets hurt, isn't it good to have Purdy as your backup? There's no difference in Jimmy G. It's no difference than bringing back Jimmy G and saying, you know what, sit behind the young kid if you need it. And guess what? What if Trey Lance gets hurt next year? Hey, Purdy, come in again, and he leads them again. Wow. Then you ship off Trey Lance. But you got to know what you have. You gave up 3 first-round picks.
That's a
you can't just give up on a guy already. As much as that sucks, that's business, bro. You gave up too many assets to just let him ride. You can't let Trey Lance, no problem. You come back. We gave up like half our franchise for you. So you sit behind the 252nd player because, well, we think he's better. If you were, we would have drafted you better. Trey Lance.
All right, so in that case, then they should have just started Drew Bledsoe over Tom Brady after he won the Super Bowl, right?
That was different, though.
Oh, that's different. Why is that different? Why is that different?
I don't know. Well, here's the deal because Drew Bledsoe. Because Drew Bledsoe was a veteran, and he got paid on New England, and they could trade him. You can't trade Trey Lance because you don't know his value yet, and you don't even know what he is. Because I think the 49ers look at what Purdy is right now.
I think you're wrong on this.
I think that 49ers looked at Purdy as this is what Trey Lance should be. This is what Trey Lance can be, but a better version because he's bigger, stronger, more athletic. But he hasn't proven yet. He has not proven it.
I think you're wrong on this one.
Don't you think it's a good problem to have, or you think it's a bad problem to have?
Oh no, it's a good problem to have, but it's a decision that it could ultimately backfire because
win the Super Bowl, and we'll talk about it. Let that be the decision. But what if
I don't want to jump down go crazy and say they're proclaiming them as a Super Bowl champs. They're still 2 months away. Actually, we're 2 months away from Super Bowl 57. February 13th is the Super Bowl, so 2 months away to the day that we will have a new Super Bowl champ, I should say, because the Rams are done for the season. But yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to have, but that's crazy to talk. That's crazy talk. If he wins the Super Bowl, If he wins the Super Bowl and you say back him up for a guy that hasn't done squat, I know you traded all that. Go trade him. Get some of those draft picks.
Well,
There will be a team. There will be a team that will take the chance on the Trey Lance.
Quarterback competition. You're not going to. They're not going to give.
Can I be honest? And somebody said it too. I forgot what show it was. Brock Purdy has looked the best out of all 3 quarterbacks this season.
But let's see how he plays out the rest of the regular season.
He's looked the best out of all 3 quarterbacks because they give him chances. It feels like they were too nervous.
Well, once Trey Lance got hurt the second week of the season, right?
Yeah, from week 2 or 3. But I just said it, like the 3 games.
The first game was in a monsoon, bro. It was a monsoon.
And Justin Fields was better than him that day too.
Well, that was his first start. Don't forget, for Trey Lance. Well, no, it wasn't. It was like his third. He had 2 last year.
And he hasn't looked good.
And he got hurt. He hurt his thumb last
year. And then you had all the offseason rumors of him not really understanding the playbook, still struggling, inaccurate with his throws. I mean, it just didn't look good.
Is this the Jordan Love situation?
Could be. It's just the only thing is they traded all the way up to 3 to get him, which is even more of an all-time.
You thought Brady was a good story. This kid wins the Super Bowl. You got a whole different story.
Yo, you watch how many Brock Purdy jerseys they're going to be by the end of the season if he does that. I might have to get one. Purdy for life. I'm just saying. That's crazy that you said that. It's crazy you said that. Anyways, let's not jump. I look at
it as a business thing.
Yeah, and the ultimate goal in the business of the NFL is to go win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but
your words exactly. It doesn't matter if he wins the Super Bowl. What?
I don't think it'll matter. I think they'll still have Trey Lance as the number 1 guy next year. Listen, what would make Trey Lance deservingly so this season? What made Trey Lance should have been the starter this year? Why
you just knew that they wanted
because they got a conference title.
Yeah, but you knew they were trying to move off of Jimmy G.
Okay.
And then
and guess what? So you think they're just going to move off of Trey Lance next season for Brock Purdy?
Yeah, if he wins the Super Bowl, you're damn right they should.
It shouldn't even be a discussion. I'll go as far as that.
They'll trade Jimmy G and they'll back up Purdy to Trey Lance. If he's not ready week 1,
it shouldn't even be a debate if he wins the Super Bowl.
You're wrong again, Henry.
There's no way I'm wrong on this one. You are absolutely out of your freaking mind, bro. You're out of your mind. I strongly disagree with that take. Doesn't matter if he wins the Super Bowl. Wow. I guess the Super Bowl is just a piece of metal. But ladies and gentlemen,
he's a one-hit wonder, baby.
Hey, if it's the one-hit wonder and he wins the Super Bowl, it doesn't get no better than that. Then. I mean, he'll have more Super Bowls than the great Dan Marino. I mean, think about that. Hall of Fame. Brock Purdy.
As many as Aaron Rodgers.
As many as Aaron Rodgers, too. Brock Purdy, Hall of Famer. Let's go. Let's start the rumors. Let's start the petition. Brock Purdy in the Hall of Fame. But a huge week of the NFL. We'll be back later in the week discussing Week 15. Giants, Jets, massive implication games. The Bills are going to be playing in another snowstorm against the Miami Dolphins. And we'll see what happens with the Chargers and around this whole NFL season.
Seattle 49ers Thursday night.
That's the Thursday night game. My boy, yeah, I know. Brock, I completely forgot about him already. Look at that.
See, that's what I'm saying. You're already forgetting.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Purdy's the man. Purdy's leading the way. He's Purdy freaking legit. That's all. But yes, Thursday night game. Seattle fighting for their playoff lives too. Huge games. Dallas goes to Jacksonville. A monstrous game as well. There's so much great football. Thank God. But it's almost over. Help us. Help us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Keys of the City. If you don't get to see the live show, you can check us out streaming on Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Google, and Amazon. We are Keys of the City. We'll see you next episode. We are out.
You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.